Welcome to Season 3 of the Armchair Athletes on CMRU.ca.
We're here to talk the four major American sports leagues. Your favorite sports show on CMRU.ca, hosted by Terrell, Taylor, Clayton, and Will.
Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of the Armchair Athletes with Clayton,
Terrell,
Taylor,
and Will.
Yeah, very energetic start to the new show.
Let's go, boys.
I think we'll start with the NBA, which is the one that I'm most pumped to talk about, because the Dallas Mavericks are going to the NBA Finals. Let's go!
Yeah, huge dub last night.
massive.
Yeah.
I
It was a
mean-
massive W. I mean, so was the gap between them and Minnesota last night. So 21 points, I think, was the final that Dallas won by. At one point, it was 36. So, I mean, they hit a couple of clutch threes to bring the lead down to 21. But
Yeah,
Dallas,
meme dropped.
yeah, Dallas was able to pick up the W.
I figured it out.
we're back.
I think.
The most back.
Hold on. Sorry. I just want to leave this one.
See ya.
All right.
Clayton, as
Yeah.
a Mavericks fan, what is your initial reactions to going to the finals? Because I don't know how long you've been a Mavericks fan, but the team hasn't been to the finals since 2011.
Yeah.
So might be your first finals as a Mavs fan. What are you feeling right now?
So I'm gonna be honest. I wouldn't really classify myself as a diehard fan. I'll be the first to admit it. And if you want to throw insults to me about my fandom with them, is Taylor back?
Anywho,
He did not figure it out.
okay, just I'm going back on my phone. You guys can keep talking. Sorry about this, everybody. This is just not normal.
Okay. Yeah, no, if you want to make comments about my fandom, that's okay. Because I'm not really a diehard fan of the Mavericks. I'm really just a fan of them just because of Luka Doncic, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it's been cool this run that they're on. I didn't really have a team before the Mavericks, so I just decided, you know what? I just want there to be like a team that I just kind of follow for fun. Don't really get too wrapped up in it, but like when they do good, it's awesome. And that's, I guess, the Dallas Mavericks. Because, I mean, I'm pretty wrapped up when it comes to the VGK and then the Seattle Seahawks as well. So, yeah.
All right. Well, I'm hyped for the finals. It doesn't start till June 6th, so a couple days still. He's back.
Taylor's back.
This sucks. I miss the studio.
Well, you know what doesn't suck? The NBA Finals, as it's going to be the
Celtics
and the Mavericks.
I feel
Taylor,
like
how hyped?
the
how hyped
Timberwolves
are
right
you?
now. How big the L I'm taking right now. I feel like the Timberwolves. Sorry, what'd you ask?
How hyped are you for the finals?
I think it's going to be a good series. I will say though, the way that Dallas has been playing and the prone chokers that the Celtics are, especially individually sometimes, I don't know if it'll go much farther than 5 games, in my opinion. I think it could be a 5-game, quick, done. I think Dallas steals a game of Boston too. So that's just my thoughts. But again, I could also be completely wrong and it could end up the other way. But just the way that Dallas has been playing, I would have said even maybe Minnesota could give Boston a run before the series started. So we'll see what happens. But that's kind of my thoughts, at least.
Sorry, what was your prediction? Dallas in 5?
Dallas in 5.
Damn.
Bold.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
bold, but I mean, Tatum's always prone to a stinker in a big game. Jaylen Brown is. We've seen that many times. I mean, yeah, they're playing well right now, but I feel like the Western Conference versus the Eastern Conference Finals is a lot different of a series matchup. So I just feel like the West has just been better, so the games have been closer. So I feel like Boston's had pretty smooth sailing. So I just feel like now when you're going to come up against one of the better teams in the NBA, if not the best team in the NBA, obviously, besides them. I think it'll give them more of a trouble than we think.
That's fair. I will say that in the conference finals, Boston did show that they can win games like in the clutch.
That's true. I just feel like Indiana's not as strong of a team. They've had a good
No,
run, but
definitely not.
like even versus Minnesota, like if Indiana was Minnesota, I think it would probably could have gone to 6 or 7. I just think Minnesota, yeah, obviously they didn't play well this series, but I just think defensively, Indiana's not as good compared to the other 3 teams that were left. So I think that was also a big hindrance for them. So I just think that the matchup is just completely different from all the other Eastern Conference games that they've had to play.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I don't know, but that's what I'm thinking. I just think it could be one of those things where Boston just has had such a smooth ride up till now, and then they're just not going to be ready for it.
Yeah, my biggest thing with the Celtics is that, I mean, they showed they could come back, but part of the issue with that is that the Pacers just collapsed in the fourth quarter a lot of times, and that's not something that the Dallas Mavericks do. So if Boston starts off games the same way that they do against Indiana, um, it's going to be tough for them to claw back, especially when you have guys like Luka and Kyrie who are consistently performing well in the clutch. Um, at the same time, though, the talent disparity between the two teams is pretty stark. Obviously, Luke is the best player in the series, I think, by a pretty wide margin. But then you go down to Kyrie. I think Tatum's better than Kyrie. I think you could probably argue that Brown is. I don't know if I would argue that right now. But then once you go to third, fourth, fifth, all those options down the rest of the bench, I think the Celtics kind of clear Dallas. But at the same time, my heart is telling me to pick the Mavericks. Just because I don't like any Boston sports teams, and boy, do I want to see Luka win a ring. But I don't think it'll be that close. I could see it going 6 or 7, and then I think I'll probably bet on 7. So I would take Dallas in 7 games.
I think I want Dallas. I'm fully cheering for Dallas, but I think Boston might just beat them. I don't know. I think their season has edged out the Mavs as much as the Mavericks have like clutched up in the playoffs. I think Boston as a whole is better.
I don't know, but I think the role players for Dallas have been playing so well, though. Like this is the best they've been playing all season, and especially since the trade. Like Gafford and PJ, I think have both been playing really well, and I've really liked Derek Lively. He's been really good, bar the injury that he had. So I just think on the interior, I think it's Mavericks might hold the edge on that one. It's just going to be a lot of guard play, which is going to be the real telltale sign of what happens. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Just Boston against a very, very good defensive team always doesn't play as good either. But yeah, we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's interesting the 2 paths that the 2 teams have taken on their way. Like Dallas had a murderer's row of opponents. They took out the Clippers, then the Thunder, and then the Timberwolves in 5 games to advance to the finals. Whereas the Celtics, and you can't. I don't think you can put too much criticism on the Celtics for their path to the finals because that's why you get the first seed. That's why you play well in the regular season. It sets up an easier road to the finals, which Boston has had. But I think it'll be interesting that matchup because you could say that Dallas is more battle tested for game 1 of the finals. Like they've dealt with adversity in these playoffs, but you wonder if maybe the Celtics are the fresher team. Like we've seen Luka's been hurt like a couple times now in the playoffs. Derek Lively's a bit banged up now too. So I think it's going to set up an interesting matchup for game 1. I have the Mavericks in 6. I really like the way that Luka and Kyrie have played to this point. I like how they played in that final game against the Timberwolves. And I think they're going to continue on that role and continue on that path to the NBA championship or the Larry O'Brien trophy, I guess.
Will, did you give a game prediction, or did you just think Boston's going to win?
I'll go Boston in 6.
I think the biggest thing for them is also the return of Porzingis. I think that's going to be huge.
Yeah, because it's one thing with the Mavs bigs playing so well right now, like you said, Taylor Lively and Gafford, and then PJ Washington even being a smaller big. They've just been lights out as of late. And I think if you're Boston, having to match up Al Horford onto those guys isn't like that's far less than ideal. But with Porzingis back out, he just gives that size and that spacing that is, and the rim protection, which Al Horford doesn't give you. So yeah, Porzingis being back is huge.
And I was going to say the same thing about Horford, but kind of in a different way. Is that, I mean, you get Horford out there switched on to Luka on like a pick and roll or whatever, he's toast. I think Porzingis can at the very least like kind of hold his own, maybe contest a shot. I think he can stick with Luka a little bit better, but yeah, if it's Horford out there that ends up getting switched on to Luka, it's going to be he's cooked every possession.
Yeah.
I mean, the defensive player of the year was on Luka multiple times, and he got cooked too. So
I think any big that's on Luka 28 feet is cooked.
But
I don't know how much it's gonna make a difference, but
I mean, there's a difference between Al Horford and Porzingis, though.
Yeah,
Al
but I
Horford's
think
like a tree out there.
I know, but I think it doesn't really matter who it is.
I don't know. I feel like just with Horford, it's gonna. I think Luka can make the shots regardless of who's guarding him, but I just think with Horford, it's going to result in easier shots.
Yeah, maybe.
Or getting to the rim easier, one of the two.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I had Dallas in 7. You had Dallas in 5. Taylor Clayton had Dallas in 6, and Will standing alone with Boston in 6 games. I think the series could go either way. I'm really excited.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of picking Dallas just because I love them, but my brain's saying that Boston's probably going to win the series, but I'm not gonna pick Boston. I can't bring myself to do it.
Do you guys have an X factor for the series? X factor for both teams?
I think I kind of already gave mine. Porzingis for the Celtics.
Yeah.
And then I think for Dallas, it's probably going to be if PJ Washington can continue to hit his shots or if Kyrie can stay clutch down the fourth quarter.
I think mine for Boston, I'm going to go rogue here and say Drew Holiday. I think he's got to make shots and be the third guy on that team to give them a chance, and on the defensive end as well to give some pressure towards Kyrie. I'm guessing that's who he's going to be matched up on mostly. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's my X factor for Boston. I think is Drew Holiday, and then for Dallas, it's Derek Lively. I think it's going to be Derek Lively. I think he's going to have a crazy final series. As long as he doesn't get injured again or get kicked in the head again. I think he has the potential to have an unreal series. So those are my 2 X factors.
I like the Drew Holiday pick. I'm going to piggyback on you there. Yeah, because he is a champion. Is it just him and Kyrie that are champions walking into this series?
Horford, didn't he win one? No. Marcus Morris must have won one. He's played for every team in the NBA.
He was on the bubble Lakers team.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. But not the same amount of finals experience. So yeah, Drew Holiday, I think for sure. If he can match up well against Kyrie or even playing against a bigger Luka, I mean, that's huge. And then yeah, I might go Kyrie for the Mavs too, because I mean, you see him struggle in game 4. They don't close out the series in a sweep. Game 5, he goes for 30 and they win by, what was it, 20 plus?
21.
21, yeah.
Mine, I have Porzingis for the Celtics, and I've got Derek Lively for the Mavs as well. I just think I think that the Mavs, like Lively had a great start to the series. Those first 3 games, he played great, and then he went down in game 4. The Mavs kind of struggled for a bit right after he had left the lineup because then you were relying on Dwight Powell, I guess, as his replacement, and he wasn't playing all that great. So that meant then that Gafford had I guess, more of a workload then as a result. So I think Derek Lively, I guess, is my X factor in this series.
Deal.
We didn't even really talk about Celtics Pacers, but what can we talk about? I guess. Celtics are pretty
No Halliburton makes it a different series.
lots of injuries. Yeah,
Yep.
it's what really can you say? I mean, Boston was the better team with everyone healthy, and they were the much better team when Halliburton was out. So that was tough. I think the Pacers kind of kept it close that first game, and then after that, it just kind of fell apart. So could they have won that series? I think so, but again, they just fell apart in the clutch every game. So tough for them, but I mean that Pacers team was fun to watch. So
Yeah, I guess they got some moves to make this offseason. Pascal Siakam is a free agent, and he's looking for a bag. I don't see them not re-signing him. Like, I think you make a big deal like that, trading Bruce Brown and some firsts for Pascal Siakam. I think you have to re-sign him, right? Or you have to at least give him a contract. So I don't see him going anywhere this offseason.
yeah, I completely agree. I feel like that's if they don't end up re-signing him, that's a kind of a failure on the Pacers front office.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was a big part of trading Pascal. Wasn't that part of the talks they had with a lot of teams? Is that he was confirming that he was going to re-sign somewhere before he got traded there, and that's why it kind of took a while for him to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, hopefully he can stay in Indiana because he has performed well while he's there.
Yep.
But I think that's probably it for the NBA. We're looking forward to the finals. What do you
Did
guys
we
want to talk
say
about?
baller of the week?
We didn't. That is a very good point, Clayton.
So Bozo comment of the week.
Very true. We skipped over Luka last week to pick Jaden McDaniels. We couldn't skip over him again this week. Luka is the baller of the week, and to be honest, I don't think it's particularly close. In 4 games, 32.3 points, 10.5 boards, 8.3 assists, 47.7, 46.5, and 84.4 splits. He was just unconscious that whole series, and especially the first half of the closeout game against the Timberwolves was just absolutely unreal. He was insane. What was I think 20 of the first 30 points for the Mavs? Yeah, he was just unreal.
You could say he's got that wolf in him.
That was good.
So Bozo comment of the week now goes to Taylor Boisvert. We're making a change on the fly.
That was a good pun. I was going to say you got that dog, but it was a wolf, you know? I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now
you guys didn't get it. Right over your head. You guys are all the bozos of the week now.
Oh, you're the bozo. We got it. We did get it.
Oh, man. How am I getting called a bozo when it goes over your heads?
No, it didn't actually go over our heads.
Oh. I don't know. Seems fishy.
I was going to say as well that that game winner in game 2 over Gobert, absolutely gangster. It was and then hilarious how he was chirping Gobert right after. I don't know if you guys saw Draymond Green's live reaction to that.
Draymond Green was his biggest hater all series, and on TNT's broadcast.
He's been his biggest hater for more than just one series, I would say.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised they gave Draymond a job at TNT, to be honest.
Well, if you can do one thing, it's talk. So he fits right in.
Yeah, it's just that's true. It's just like it's you never want to bring beefs into it when you're a broadcaster, I don't think.
But it's not like it's the first time that's happened with TNT. Like, you think of Shaq and clowning on Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee.
JaVale McGee, yeah.
He made a career off that.
It's true.
I was saying to Jana though yesterday, I'm a big Rudy Gobert hater, but now it just seems like watching these games, every player, every fan just hates Rudy Gobert and are looking to fight the guy. And I'm almost starting to feel bad for him. I still don't like him, but it's just like
That's
that's got to be hard, man.
I did put that in the talking points. His hate and Cat's hate. Well, Cat's more so than Gobert's, but they both feel so forced at this point.
Yeah.
Like realistically, yeah, he's going to get hate because Luka hit the game winner on him. He's the defensive player of the year. Luka's hitting that shot over like anyone in the league. It doesn't matter who's standing there. Maybe Wemby, he could have blocked it,
Yeah.
but like it's not that outcome isn't changing regardless of who's standing in front of him. And yeah, at this point, it just feels like it's like the fun thing to do to hate on Gobert. He did kind of bring it on himself a little bit. I feel like everyone kind of remembers him doing the coughing thing before COVID shut the league down.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what everyone can point to as a reason why they don't like Gobert, which is fair enough.
Rudy
But
Gobert sent the world into a pandemic.
it's just the timing on that was so bad. Like it couldn't have been any worse. It was incredible. But yeah, I completely agree with you. At this point, it just feels like it's the pendulum has swung too far in the other direction, and now it needs to be balanced back out with some love for that man.
Yeah, for
I
real.
seen a highlight reel of Rudy Gobert on TikTok, and it was just like all of his lowlights, I guess. And I was just watching it, and it was like incredibly long too. It was like 2 minutes or something. I just kind of felt bad for him at the end of it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like give the guy a break. I will still be a hater, but
I don't really feel bad for him at all. He's got 4
balance.
DPOIs.
He's got what?
Sorry, he's got 4 DPOIs. I hate how close I had to sit to my camera. I said I don't feel bad because he has 4 DPOIs.
Yeah, it's true.
but I mean,
He might be the most disrespected first ballot Hall of Famer.
oh, absolutely, he will
You
be.
think he's the first ballot for sure?
Yes,
4-time defensive player of the year.
Yeah, that's true.
I think there's only like 3 guys.
he. I think really the only argument you can make. Actually, I don't even. Honestly, there probably is an argument you can make as to why he's not going to make the Hall of Fame. And I do agree. I think he is first ballot. And people are going to hate on it. But yeah, 4 depoys, he's getting in pretty easily.
It's Mutombo, Ben Wallace, and Rudy Gobert, the only 4-time defensive player of the years.
Pretty good company to be in terms of defense there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish the best because especially after that trade where he first got sent to Minnesota and that season was terrible. I feel like that kind of made everything worse too. But he was still good this season. He had some great moments. But yeah, the Gobert hate, we gotta even it out. I don't know if I'm gonna be the one to do it. I'm also not really that big of a fan of Gobert. But someone has to step up and start being a fan.
It won't be me, but
No,
I'll balance my hate.
someone else. Your hate's logical, at least. You could
Yeah.
admit.
Yeah. There's
He also
reason.
just looks weird.
That's the kind of hate we're not talking about here.
Just a weird looking guy. I don't know. He gives you like the creeps. I don't know why.
We got
Just
Will being like, oh, we gotta. Some of this hate seems too much, and then Taylor says, I don't know, he just looks weird.
He looks like what's that guy from Nightmare on Christmas or whatever? Jack Skellington.
Jack Skellington.
Skellington, yeah. Just if you didn't have the makeup on.
He's like the skinniest buff dude ever, though.
It's just lean. He's lean.
Yeah.
I don't know. There you go, Rudy. There's your next Halloween costume for you, buddy.
Okay, so we're not helping swing the pendulum in the other direction on this podcast.
There's got to be somebody in there around the world that likes him. So I feel like
France.
I feel like the 4 of us or the 3 of us that don't like him are not going to swing the pendulum.
Hey, it's got to start somewhere, man.
Yeah.
You're right. I think France likes him. I will say that. They seem to like him.
I said that, and then I realized that Wemby came, and now he's overtaken him. So it's probably not even France anymore.
Oh, you can like 2 players.
No, I think he's
Maybe not
overtaking them
more.
as number one.
Oh, for sure. But
Their focus is now solely on Wembanyama. They don't care about Gobert anymore. The Stifle Tower is not important. And then if we want to get into the Bozo comment of the week to kind of even things out here, this one was pretty slam dunk. Shout
I
out to
sent it,
Stephen
by
A.
the
Smith.
way.
You did, and I was like, that is so perfect. So yeah, shout out to Clayton for this one. But yeah, Stephen A. Smith said that Kawhi Leonard is the worst superstar ever.
Let me just say this right now. Stephen A. Smith has never seen Mitch Marner play. Then
you're probably right. I don't think Stephen A. Smith is tapped into hockey. I would agree with you on that one. But like, if you are the number one option on any championship team and you win a ring, you are automatically not the worst superstar ever. Like, that's just how that works. It's so simple.
This guy
and
down the Heatles for his first ring at like 23 years old.
And just by giving the Raptors their first ring in franchise history, like, he's forever going to be a superstar in Canada. Yeah. And he's not the worst. Like, he led them past that stupid Warriors team. So, yeah, I don't know. You can pick any player in NBA history that doesn't have a ring, and I would argue that he's probably better than those guys. So
you could look at literally his teammate, Paul George, was at one point, maybe still is, classified as a superstar.
I think so.
Fly over Paul George any day of the week.
The shot against the 76ers alone should be enough to say that that's a dumb argument.
I think that shot gets him a statue at ACC or Scotiabank.
Yeah,
probably.
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
If put it this way, if we don't win again before he retires, I could see it happening.
He's got to be like one of the only players in sports history that's played one season with a team and is being considered for a statue.
There's how many times have we seen a player that's played only one season for a team and gone after winning a cup? That's not like a role player or like a fourth liner on a hockey team. Like, it doesn't happen very often.
Those trades they don't really pan out like that. And then if they do, guys generally don't leave after one season. But Raptors.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that Raptors team was just so built to have one star in there, and then it was perfect.
I still to this day have like a weird feeling that in the back of his mind, he's like, I kind of wish I stayed in Toronto. Since he left to this day, with the way that the Clippers kind of tenure is gone with, not playing because he's injured or whatever, not winning. They're one of the biggest like clown franchises of all time because they just always have good teams and they never win. I wonder if a little piece in his mind was like, it would have been kind of nice to stay an extra couple of years, play with Scotty, and then Pascal and all those guys probably would have stayed. And like, there's just something in like the back of my mind that thinks that he probably has a little bit of like remorse, I guess, towards leaving. Regret, yeah. Like, I don't know why. Just when he left, I was kind of just like, I feel like he's going to regret this decision.
I think that could be the case, but I think it also could be he's already won 2 championships and he can go get his bag and live in LA with his family.
I guess, but it's just like, he's still not that old and he could have probably stayed at least another year, I think, and maybe won a double.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not Kawhi Leonard. Wish I was, but he's obviously got different priorities than I do.
But I think, inarguably, Kawhi Leonard is not the worst superstar of all time.
No.
Yeah. That's such a stupid comment. But I think part of it is also that, like, it depends on what you like. Superstar is such a like subjective term. Mm-hmm. It's like, what the fuck? What does a superstar mean? You said Paul George could be. I think he is, or at least he was at the time of that trade. But yeah, it's like maybe Stephen A. Smith is like, you have to be a top 5 player to be a superstar. In which case, maybe you're right. But yeah, I don't know.
But then there's offensive superstars and there's defensive superstars. You know who the worst superstar is? Rudy Gobert.
No, leave him alone, guys. Come on. We're better than this.
There's also this guy. I don't know if you guys heard of him before. His name's Jack Eichel.
Yeah, he's pretty mid.
Didn't we
You're
just
not
say that winning a ring gets rid of that argument?
Not if you're not the number one guy on your team.
Yeah, he was. We're
I
lying
don't
to
know.
ourselves
I don't
here.
think so. I don't think so.
We may
Who
as well
was?
transition into hockey.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
Who was? Okay, so we'll transition to hockey. Who was the number one superstar in that night's team?
I don't know, but I got a couple on my list for most hated players, Clayton. So watch out.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
Couple of nights?
Maybe you'll have to
Oh.
see.
Cool.
We got a teaser.
I'm kidding. I was just kidding about that whole thing. I honestly
It's
don't really
all
care about
Canucks.
Czech.
Yeah.
No, you'll see. You'll see what I got cooking there.
I figured you were kidding. So, but yes, I actually kind of want to transition into football as well because I've got a rant for that.
Oh, well,
So, I think we'll save hockey till the end.
sure.
Let's transition into football, where the Buffalo Bills had a publicity stunt earlier today, signing Gable Steveson, former Olympic gold medalist in amateur wrestling. I put down he won't make it past the preseason. Terrell put something else down that I agree with, but we're not going to say it on air
No.
for reasons of potentially, I guess, yeah, we just don't want to get into that stuff.
If you wanna find out why I think the signing is objectionable, you can just Google his name, and I'm sure it'll come up. But yeah, it's stuff we won't talk about on air.
I'm just going to talk about it from a different standpoint than what Terrell wrote down. So instead of saying that Gable Steveson signed with the Bills, it should say that Gable Steveson continues to be a privileged sports star, in my opinion. He gets signed. So this is where the wrestling fan in me comes in handy. So Gable Steveson was signed to WWE. And I know what you're going to say that, oh, but wrestling's fake, wrestling's this, wrestling's that. It's not the NFL. You're right, it's not. But you still need to put in the work to become a successful WWE star. However, Gable Steveson was given opportunity after opportunity to become a huge star in the WWE. The comparisons to Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar should have been enough to make Gable Steveson a huge star. Winning an Olympic gold medal already gives him more believability than most of the superstars in the WWE. But this guy did not put in the work. He did not put in the work. And another huge opportunity, he got his first ever WWE appearance was at WrestleMania 38. There's not very many other wrestlers that I can think of that have had their first appearance at the show of shows. So what makes you suddenly think that if he's not willing to put in the work for WWE, which he is primed to do, like he could have been a huge star if he had just put in the work. And like he was already given more opportunity than most guys when they go into that. What makes you think that this guy is going to go into the NFL and put in the work there to become successful? And if you say the money, then I'm telling you right now that today was the perfect time for a report to release that says that main roster stars on the WWE, the minimum salary is $350,000 a year. That is almost 6 times the amount that someone in that the average person in the United States makes. So what makes you suddenly think that this guy is going to put in the work to become an NFL star when I'd argue that it's harder to get into the NFL in terms of like you have to almost put in like a lifetime of work in a way. Like I don't just suddenly think that someone can decide I'm making the NFL. If you guys get what I'm saying.
Absolutely. I think I can't remember who it was that was talking about this. It might have been, I think it's Kyle Long, who's a former NFL player, and it was right when they were talking about the debates about NBA versus NFL and which sport is harder. And he was saying that a lot of NBA guys would get to that first day of training camp and they wouldn't be able to handle it and they would quit just because of how rigorous it is. And I completely agree. If you can't hang in the WWE with that level of physical conditioning, you're not making it in the NFL. The other thing is, what position is he going to play? Because he's 6'1" and I think 260 something pounds. So he's short for an edge rusher. He's too small for D tackle. He's too big for linebacker now. Maybe he slims down. He can play there, but my guess is he probably has short arms. He's just not built for football. So why he's there, I don't know. I think it is just a publicity stunt for the Bills and for him.
I think it's to draw in ratings for preseason games. That's it.
Yeah. So, and you know what? Maybe we're wrong, and it'll be like some crazy moment where he can hang in the NFL, and who knows. But personally, Clayton, you obviously have the background of the WWE and why he didn't succeed there. Me, without knowing all that, I would be betting against him anyways. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a guy Gable Steveson. I don't know if you. I guess you guys probably wouldn't know this, but Gable Steveson. So he started out on the main roster, and then just didn't really improve at all. So they actually sent him down to NXT. Which, by the way, like there's guys that have wrestled around the world for 20 years that go to WWE, and they don't get to start on the main roster. They start back in NXT. So the fact that he even got to start on the main roster is another privilege that he was given. And he couldn't hang on the main roster, went back to NXT. And then before his release from WWE, and I say release, it wasn't a release where Gable Steveson asked for it. It was a release because he simply couldn't hang. And he was wrestling against this one guy on the main roster in dark matches, which means they do like matches before the show where it's like a couple of like guys just kind of, I guess, say on the transition from NXT to the main roster. So they want to see how they'll do in front of a main roster crowd. And he was wrestling against Cameron Grimes, who also got released, real name Trevor Lee. And he actually made a couple of tweets today about the signing. He said the first one was Bills are slowly creeping back into a poverty franchise. His second one was whichever one requires the least amount of work and has other people make him look good, I'm assuming. Or yeah, someone had said what position he's playing, and then Trevor Lee said whichever one requires the least amount of work and has other people make him look good, I'm assuming. Wait, wrong sport.
Damn.
Not high praise.
I guess he's got a point there, though. Like, Trevor Lee's job was to make him look good. It's not the offensive lineman's job to make him look good.
Yeah. There's not somewhere where you can be like a liability on an NFL team and they can just hide you somewhere. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I wouldn't be betting on him to succeed, but who knows? Maybe I'll be wrong. We can move on to the next thing here. This is more of a kind of the same kind of vein. It's not really like big news around the NFL, but it is just something we could talk about. Came out from the Kansas City Chiefs that they're looking at using Justin Reed as their kickoff guy, given the new kickoff rules in the NFL. And it was just kind of funny timing with everything that's been happening with Harrison Butker. It seems like it's targeted him, but it definitely isn't. But yeah, it's just that kickers are now going to be more involved in making plays, tackles on those kickoff returns, just given the new rules. And maybe we'll see it from more teams. I don't really know. Justin Reed obviously has been used kicking the ball before for the Chiefs when Butker got injured last season. So it's not like it would be new to him. I just thought that was kind of interesting. And my thought was, if everyone wants to do that, I don't know who's going to kick the ball. Chiefs have Justin Reed. I don't know who the Seahawks have. If they've got someone in the wings that has played soccer in the past, I have no idea. But it is going to be kind of fun if they can figure it out.
Do you think that the Chiefs only be like an outlier? Like, do you think more teams are going to be doing it? Because like you've seen the thing, I guess, for the Chiefs, the advantage is that Justin Reed does have previous kicking experience when Harrison Butker was hurt. So do you think more teams are going to be doing it?
I think maybe not immediately. Like, I guess we'll see how the kickoffs work. But I think kickers will be more involved in it. So it would be beneficial because it doesn't help to have one guy who just can't really tackle at all. But at the same time, you don't want to have someone out there who has never kicked a football before. But I'm just more interested in like finding out if we have some guy on the roster that has played soccer at some point in his life and can kick a football. Like, I don't know. Maybe we like Devin Witherspoon has done it at some point. Who knows?
I don't know.
I kind of want to see.
I don't know why the Chiefs wouldn't use that Louis Rees Zammit guy for rugby.
Oh, the
'Cause
rugby
he's a kicker
player?
too. I'm pretty sure he was well, I don't know. I'm not a
Place.
big
I think
rugby
it's
guy.
place kicking. I can't remember what it's
Yeah,
called.
something like that. I'm pretty sure he did that, and it's like the guy's used to like having contact in a sport that's very heavy contact. So you would think that they would have used him, but
I don't know. I think Justin Reed is like, I mean, ideally he'd be like what everyone would want in that spot. He's a safety. He's played the position before and he's kicked the ball before. Um, maybe if they didn't have anyone else, then he could be the option there. But yeah, I mean, that would be kind of cool. I don't know what that guy's going to do. We talked about the wrestler. What the rugby player is going to do, I have no idea. But I think he has more of a shot in the NFL than Gable Steveson does. So we'll see what happens. That's just pretty interesting to me. Do you guys have anything else for the NFL?
There was one more point here. The Bears are going to be on Hard Knocks this year.
I think that'll be entertaining. I mean, I feel like you could have seen that coming with like the hype surrounding Caleb Williams and just their entire off season. Why wouldn't you? I guess
Get
it's not
ready to
all
see.
the off season though; it's preseason, right?
Yeah.
The Giants are the
The
off.
training camp.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Get
ask
ready
you
to
guys
see.
because I'm
Go
not
ahead.
familiar. Like, I know what the show is kind of about, but I'd never really watched it in the past, so I haven't really followed it before. But I know that last year it was the New York Jets that were on Hard Knocks. Is there some kind of curse associated with the show then?
I think there is. I feel like I've
Yeah.
heard a lot of Hard Knocks curse.
But I feel like part of that is just because, like, a lot of the time they pick bad teams. Obviously, the Jets last year, no one could have predicted the Aaron Rodgers injury, which was the main point why they were bad. But like, I think if I go down the list, I know the
They
Browns
tend
were on it when they were bad.
it might
they
also
then-
be like drama.
I was going to say, yeah, tend to pick teams that are looking to go from like 0 to 60 this season.
Yeah. So it started in 2001. Oh my lord, my laptop is just about the end, I think.
If it's about a team going 0 to 60, they should have picked the Chiefs.
You're all over
Taylor,
these.
you're on 2 strikes right now, my friend.
That was actually a good
thin
one.
ice.
That was better than
get
the
it.
other one.
Yeah.
I didn't get it.
Okay, well, it's fine. I thought that was a good one. Come on, guys.
That joke went 0 to 60 over top of Clayton's head.
I still don't get it. I don't get the joke.
Right into a wall.
Rasheed Rice.
Oh,
See, that
There
was
we
a good
go.
one.
We're back.
jeez. Okay, that's good. That's good. I don't think Taylor should get another strike.
No,
All
that was a
right,
good one.
it's been disputed. No longer 2 strikes. We're on 1-1 right now.
That was a
but
really
yeah.
good one. I was proud
Going
of that
through
one. I
the-
thought of that one right away, and I was like, I'm going to let this land.
Angel Hernandez would have tossed me out of the game for arguing that strike.
Hmm.
We've got
Too
more
bad you
news
can't
on
now.
Angel Hernandez soon, by the way.
I was just going through looking at the list. We got the Giants and the Bears this year. Jets, Dolphins last year, which again, 2 good teams, but they both kind of fell short of expectations. Then we had the Cardinals in 2022 and the Lions in 2022. Cowboys, Colts, Raiders, Rams, Bucks, Browns. So yeah, they've kind of had. It's been a lot of teams that haven't been the best for a long time. Yeah, I don't know. I really hope that this curse doesn't affect the Bears because boy, do I want them to succeed. However, Shane Waldron as the offensive coordinator, Bears fans get ready to watch 50,000 bubble screens to Roma Dunze in this training camp. He is not fun as an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I agree. I think that does it for the NFL, unless you guys have anything else.
I don't have anything else.
I guess we can move on now to the MLB.
Yes, sir. And to start it off, we're starting on a high note. We are free from Angel Hernandez. His reign of terror is over. Thank God, man. Like, I feel like he retired, quotes, retired, To me, this feels like the MLB, the umpire union, being like, we can't keep having this negative publicity. Either you retire right now, or we will fire you. And he took the option of being retired and kind of going out on his own terms, I suppose. But he has been like so garbage for so long that he kind of started to even leak out of like baseball as a bad umpire. Being known as an umpire in baseball is generally not a good thing. Um, you're not being known because you're making great calls all the time. You're being known because you make bad ones, and they're being shown on highlight whatever, Twitter, Instagram, whatever account, because you called a ball a strike that was 3 feet wide of the zone. And boy, did Angel Hernandez do it, and he was also annoying when he did it, arguing with players, ejecting players for no reason, getting frustrated when they would argue calls, bad calls. There was a while ago where he had a dispute with the league, saying that I can't remember what the reasoning was that he went to dispute it, but just complaining that he wasn't umping any playoff games. And in response, the MLB just wheeled in a TV and played clips of him fucking up calls. And that was their response, and he lost the case. So, like, the fact that it took this long for him to be removed from the league is kind of absurd to me. He's been so garbage for so long that I thought it would happen sooner. But boy, am I glad that it happened at all.
Hey, wait a second now, Terrell. Joe West says whether you want to believe it or not, he was good at it. And then I seen the comment section on that post, and the one comment is another bad call from Joe West.
That's what it's of course Joe West thinks Angel Hernandez was good because they were both dog shit at umpiring. Like, why wouldn't they defend each other? Like, Joe West was just as bad. And they're both just so terrible. And that was another guy. He obviously wasn't as well known as Angel Hernandez, but that was another guy when he eventually left the league. Everyone celebrated. Kind of the same thing. Bad strikes, arguing with players, ejecting players for no reason. Common theme between those two. Not surprising that Joe West tried to stick up for Hernandez in that situation. But good riddance. We'll never see him again. Thank God. We have enough issues with umpiring as it is. We don't need Angel Hernandez to drag it down anymore. But I will say this. Is there an equivalent to Angel Hernandez across any other sport? From the perspective of being a well-known ump or referee, and then aside from that, being well-known for being just absolutely terrible? Because I could think of a few, but I don't know if any are on the same level that Angel Hernandez is.
Just Scott Foster, probably. That's the first one that jumped out to me.
I was going to say Scott Foster when CP3 is playing.
Yeah.
Wes McCauley in the NHL. Everybody likes him because he's over-dramatic and stuff. The over-dramatic and theatrics just hides how bad he actually is.
That was one of the guys I was going to pick, and it was because you see the clips of him all the time, wherever, TikTok, wherever you're looking, you'll see like his calls on the whatever. And so that's one that I know. And again, I don't watch hockey that much, and that is a guy that I know. Another guy.
I wish Truman were on here. He'd rip him more than I am. He hates him too.
Another guy, Tony Brothers, the NBA ref. That's another guy that I think is super well known for being terrible. I mean, you see him on like any game, and you're like, Jesus, there's going to be some terrible calls made this game.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like there really aren't that many, and I feel like no one had the same level of notoriety that Angel Hernandez did. And I think part of that is because he just did make horrible calls all the time. And another part of that is that in MLB, and I've said this before, umpires just have more of a role in the game than other guys do. If an NBA ref calls a foul, it's not happening, constantly every play, one would assume. But on every pitch in the MLB, Angel Hernandez had a chance to fuck up, and a lot of the time he did. So it was just, there was more opportunities for him to make bad calls. And then when he did get those opportunities, he was making more mistakes. Whereas Tony Brothers, he can make some, but they're not going to be constant throughout the entire game. I think Angel Hernandez is like unparalleled in terms of being hated as a official in a sports league.
I know of a few in the NHL. Like I think there's certain fan bases in the NHL that hate certain refs. I assume it's kind of like that for baseball, and then you guys said NBA as well. Like I know Chris Lee's a bad ref in the NHL. Eric Furlat and Dan O'Halloran, who refed the game 7 of Knights Sharks, but I think O'Halloran retired right after, which like good. Trying to think of any others. Kelly Sutherland, who shares shares the exact same name of a chuck wagon driver, the greatest chuck wagon driver ever. Go search him up, but they are not the same person. Yeah.
Soccer, there's a lot.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna
Soccer,
say if
there's
there's
a lot.
one blind spot I have, it is soccer.
There's like so many. Like I think the NFL there's not as many because it's such a big crew. Whereas so like they all chat after every single play, right? So the chances of missing a call might be a little less. Whereas the ones where it's like, hockey, it's two officials and then two linesmen who aren't really gonna make calls per se. But like soccer, it's one running the whole field. So I think they get a lot of hate too. Then there's the linesmen who are just there to call offsides for the most part. They flag penalties, but the ref's allowed to refuse it if he doesn't think it's a penalty, which a lot of the time it is. But the guy's like 40 yards away, and he's like, "Oh, I don't think that was." And it's like, obviously, your assistants can be able to tell before.
Yeah.
But usually those guys, because the FIFA Confederation is usually pretty strict. Usually, if there's a really bad call it's made, those guys will not be in the running for any more big games. So they usually get fired pretty quick.
That's the other thing is that with the MLB, bad umps stick around forever. And it happens in the NBA too, obviously, and I assume with the NHL as well. And it's just you don't see a lot of turnover. So when guys make bad calls and then you see them again in the same spot making a bad call in a later game, it just sticks with you in your head, which is something I had with Angel Hernandez. And the other thing is that he started off, he was calling playoff games. He was a, home plate umpire. And then slowly he was demoted. No playoff games, no more behind the plate, out in the field, first or third base, whatever. And so it's like he's making bad enough calls to be demoted, but just not bad enough to be fired. So he's just stuck around for forever and continued to make bad calls for his entire career. So Angel Hernandez, I wish you the best in retirement, and I hope you never ump a baseball game at any level ever again. Moving on to the next one here, the next big piece of big news for the MLB is the MLB is integrating Negro League stats into the official MLB record book. And I have very mixed feelings about this. On one side, I think it is absolutely the case that Negro League players should be recognized for their stats and should be in the official MLB books. And I think it's fantastic that they are being recognized. But at the same time, it kind of feels like it's just the MLB patting themselves on the back and saying, look at us, this many years later, we're recognizing these players and we're doing a great thing. After being the reason that they couldn't have been playing with white players in the first place, you'll see people argue that the level of competition wasn't the same, so they shouldn't be in these shouldn't be in the same record books as MLB players. But to me, that just doesn't make any sense because whether or not the level of competition was the same doesn't really matter. If they weren't allowed to play with white MLB players, it's completely irrelevant. I think a lot of the players in the Negro Leagues could have played with white MLB players and were talented enough. And they just never got the opportunity to. So level of competition doesn't matter. But again, I'm happy it's happened. I just don't. It kind of seems like it's the MLB just getting to pat themselves on the back for this. But I am happy it's happening. Just shouldn't have been that way in the first place and took a long time for them to get it right. But yeah. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, to me it did feel like a pat on your own back, like, oh, look at us, we're fixing this problem that's been complained about forever and obviously not right, but you were the ones that made it a problem.
Yeah.
And, yeah. I saw a take that was like, by integrating these stats, it's almost as if they're like getting rid of like the Negro leagues. Like instead of it being individual stats to their league,
Mhm.
to those league, it's like, oh yeah, these have always been MLB stats, which
Yeah,
just isn't the case.
yeah. It's I completely agree with that. I think part of it is that yeah, it seems like they're kind of just absorbing it into its own thing, and by mixing like the Negro League players and the MLB players in those official record books, it will kind of come across that way. And if people don't look into it further, they might assume that. Um, but yeah, it's just again, it took them a long time. I'm glad it happened, but yeah, it just seems kind of self-serving, and I don't know. It's tough. It's tough.
Mhm.
Now we can move on to the Toronto Blue Jays. They almost drew me back in after last week. They were this close. They put up 9 runs back-to-back games. I talked about it. I said I might do it, and then I believe they lost 6-2 in the game after that. So prove me right for not tuning in to watch, anyways. They, I don't even like. What can I? I've said it so many times. They're frustrating to watch. The offense is bad, and when the offense isn't bad, something else ends up happening. Like the next game where they lost 14-11 on a 3-run walk-off home run. And then they proceeded that with a 2-1 loss in Blue Jays fashion. So there's so many ups and downs with this team that they're just hard to stick to, and they're so hard to watch. And like they got blown up by Matt Vierling of all people, which is just horrific. I mean, outside of this game against the Blue Jays, where he went 4 for 6 with 2 home runs, in the games before that, 0 for 2, 1 for 4, 0 for 1, 2 for 4, 1 for 4, 1 for 5, 1 of 3. He was not a good baseball player, and he just magically became like Barry Bonds for a game to beat the Blue Jays. So boy, am I glad I didn't watch that game because that was horrific. They got swept by the Tigers in that series. Of course, they come back the next week. They sweep the White Sox, which they should, because if there's any team that's worse than the Blue Jays in the Major League Baseball, it is the Chicago White Sox, who are just garbage. So good for Toronto, I guess, for being down on the worst team in the MLB. And then, of course, talked about it last week a little bit. We had the power outage in that Detroit Tigers game where the Jays ended up putting up 9 runs. So that, of course, sparked the anti-analytics crowd that I've talked about a little bit, where they were saying that the Blue Jays put up 9 runs in the one game where they weren't allowed to use their iPads because they didn't have internet connection. Unfortunately, internet connection came back, I think, in the 7th inning, and that's when the Blue Jays started to score all of their runs. So that point's kind of moot. And then move on to the next little bit here. Alek Manoah is injured on the 15-day IL. Just when he had started to turn the season around, he goes out. I think it's right elbow soreness. So that is not ideal. He was looking fantastic for the first bit of the season there when he came back. So to see a season derailed is very disappointing. At the very least with this team, Bo's starting to turn it around a bit and is being consistent, and Vlad is still being one of the best hitters on the team and is quickly becoming one of the best hitters in the league again, at least in the American League. Brought his OPS back over 800, so that's great for him. Yeah, Davis Schneider continues to be great. He finally hit 300 plate appearances, which makes him a qualified hitter. He has the 4th highest OPS in the American League among qualified hitters with a 904. He trails Aaron Judge, Kyle Tucker, and Corey Seager. So very, very elite company for him to be in. As I've kind of harped on for multiple episodes in a row at this point, he should be hitting very high in the lineup every day, and that's finally starting to happen. So I guess that's good. And finally, for the Blue Jays, the City Connect jerseys were revealed last night officially. We had some leaks earlier in the week, and they really made me not feel great about how the City Connect jerseys were going to turn out. But once the official release came out, I will say that they looked a lot better. I encourage you guys at home to go and look them up if you haven't. And if you can find a comparison between the two, please look at that. because in the leaks, they looked a lot worse. There was just some very minor changes, and whether that was the lighting of the picture they were taken in or actual changes to the jersey themselves, it made a huge, huge difference. But yeah, overall, I'm a pretty big fan of them. Maybe at some point I'll do a City Connect jersey ranking. We can do that on the TikTok. I was kind of thinking about that just because we're starting to finally get every team with the City Connects, and I can kind of rank them all. I don't know. I think the Jays, especially out of this batch that's been released this season, they're some of my favorites. I think the first few releases were like very, very top tier, and then they've kind of slowly started to get more bland and boring. But the Jays, I'm a big fan of it. I kind of didn't expect to like it, to be completely honest. But I don't know. I'm a fan. I will say that I think it looks a lot better as like an actual uniform as opposed to just like buying a jersey and wearing it yourself. So I don't know if I'm going to buy one. Probably not. But on field, they look great. I believe they've debuted them against the Pirates, and they're currently losing 1-0. So again, not really locked in on that game. But when I check highlights at the end of the game, I'll check the City Connect jerseys out, and we'll have another look at them. But yeah, from what I've seen so far, I think they turned out a lot better than I expected them to.
What's your favorite City Connect jersey? Are you going to actually make a list? You don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, I will actually probably make a list. I do have one off the top of my head right now.
I have one.
Pardon?
I have one.
You can say yours then. See if we agree.
Hey, mine's Brew Crew. Brewers.
Okay, yeah.
Sick colors, that was dope nickname.
Yeah. I'll say one that wouldn't be my number one, but would be very high is the Colorado Rockies. Those ones are fantastic to me. I'm a big fan of those. So they'd be pretty high for me, but they wouldn't be my first. You'll have to tune in on the TikTok wherever I end up making these videos to find out what my number one would be.
I like the Nationals too.
Yeah, the Nationals ones are great.
I don't like the Nationals one. That's one with the flowers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the cherry blossoms.
Not a fan. I like the Angels one. I like the Phillies one.
Oh, the old Atlanta Braves one is so clean too.
Yeah. There's a ton of good ones, and like I said, I feel like as I've gone on, they've kind of gotten more bland. But especially in kind of that first release, a lot of them were fantastic. But yeah, I'll have to go back. I'll maybe do like by season that they were released in, and then maybe once everyone has one, I'll do a whole compilation. But yeah, we'll figure that out once we get to it.
I like the Rockies. And yeah, I like the Jays one too.
I'm a big fan of the Jays ones, and they'll probably be pretty high on that list. Like I said, once that leak came out, I was feeling a bit disheartened. I was like, man, this team really can't do anything right. But they have a pretty good City Connect jersey, so that's the season's turning around.
There was also a picture online, Terrell, you probably saw it, of Vladdy with Edwin and Batista.
At the official reveal. Yeah, they were all back together. The whole gang was back. And then one final thing for the Blue Jays, following the Alek Manoah injury, they decided to add some pitching depth. They acquired Ryan Burr from the Phillies in exchange for cash considerations. Joey Canool is DFA'd to make room on the roster. Burr has posted a 2.16 ERA in AAA, 60 2/3 innings, and 29 Ks. So some pretty decent stats from him in AAA. He'll be like a top of the bullpen, end of the starting rotation guy. Probably won't get too much run, but good to have some depth. And so far in AAA, he's looked pretty good. So fingers crossed, I guess. And now, Clayton, we could move on to the NHL.
Before we move on to the NHL, I just want to run the gauntlet here.
Okay.
So follow us on social media, Instagram at the Armchair Athletes, TikTok at Armchair Athletes, Twitter at Chair Athletes. Terrell, any highlights from the Twitter this week?
Not really. I haven't been tapped in too much. I got into a bit of an argument with about Anthony Edwards, and then I listened to the new Eminem song, and I was talking about that because I was not that big of a fan of it. But yeah, that's been it so far on Twitter.
And then, of course, the YouTube at the Armchair Athletes 196. There's 196 reasons why the Bills should not have signed Gable Steveson.
I was going to say there's 196 hateful things we can say about Rudy Gobert on this show.
That's another good one.
No,
Yes,
no boy.
I was just gonna say as well. Keep following our social medias this week, because not only Terrell's City Connect, once those are all released, I'm also gonna be doing later this month a video on my predictions for this year's NHL Hockey Hall of Fame class 2024. They're gonna be announcing it later this month. And then, of course, the mock draft is going to be happening on there. I might also be doing it on the show as well. And then finally, we've got an announcement that's going to shake the very foundation of the Armchair Athletes to its core. Huge announcement that'll change everything going forward. Don't worry, we're not done yet. In fact, we're only going up from here. But keep your eyes peeled for the social media.
We're adding LeBron James and JJ Redick as the
Yeah.
fifth and sixth members of the Armchair Athletes.
Yeah,
Draymond
sorry,
Green.
Truman. They got the nod before Truman. Sorry.
Deserved.
Unfortunately, they have a bit more pull than Truman does, so we had to turn Truman down in favor of them.
We're adding Pat Bev, so you better be subscribed to this podcast.
Pat Bev, Gilbert Arenas, Draymond Green. We're bringing them all in. You thought the Rudy Gobert hate was bad now. Wait till we get Gilbert Arenas and Draymond Green on the show. We're going to have 0 European listeners for the rest of our lives.
And also, I'm being replaced by Kendrick Perkins.
I think, honestly, I don't even know what network Kendrick Perkins is on, but if they sent us a DM that said, Kendrick
ESPN.
Perkins will come onto your show for Will, if they asked me, I would say no. I don't want him anywhere near me. I don't want to talk to him. Get him away from me.
Also, you mentioned that we won't be having any listeners in Europe. Apparently, we have a listener in Argentina.
Yep.
I was talking about that with my dad.
If you're listening to us in Argentina, hit us up on the socials, send us a DM, and because that's cool. Like, who knew we had that far of a reach? I guess.
Insane.
And buenos noches.
I assume that means hello. I don't know.
I think that means good morning because I think it's got to be.
I was going to say because Buenos Dias is good night. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
But
in my Spanish bag, thank you.
That was good. Because we do have a listener in Mexico City too. So.
Oh, shout out to you.
Of course.
Too.
Also, hit us up on the socials
if you want to. Buenos nachos to this guy.
Oh my.
We're getting the Armchair Athletes Espanol this episode.
Armchair Athletes, Spanish language dictionaries coming soon.
Just very
Armchair
poorly
Athletes
translated.
on Babbel.
Yeah. Use code Armchair on Duolingo to get.
I guess we'll finally move on to the NHL. No winners and losers this week because we're in the middle of a playoff round, quite literally. But we do have, of course, the news.
Woo!
Yeah, it's the enthusiasm I like to see. So starting off here, the Oilers and the Stars, Game 5 tonight in Dallas. Starts here in a couple minutes. 6:30 is the start time, but they never start at 6:30. It's usually like 6:40 or 6:50. Very important win by Edmonton on Wednesday night to tie the series at 2 apiece. And I think the story of that game was Darnell Nurse, because going into it, he was being ripped apart by the media. Didn't have a great performance in Game 3. Neither did Stuart Skinner, but I guess Skinner's taken enough heat, so they decide to pile on Darnell Nurse before this one. And he had a tough start to Game 4. Was on the ice for 2 goals against as the Stars went up 2-0. But then Nurse had an assist on the first goal by the Oilers, and the Oilers just put it on cruise control from that point. They absolutely took over that game from that point. They won the game 5-2. They got some goals from some depth players in that game as well. Ryan McLeod and Matthias Janmark, they each had goals in Game 4. And yeah, Edmonton's looking good going into Game 5, especially I think a lot of people going into this one predicted the Stars. There was some people that were betting more so on the Oilers because of McDavid, but I think if you had asked a lot of people, they probably would have picked the Stars going into this one, myself included, because Dallas was overall the better team. Defensively and depth, I think, were the two X factors, goaltending too, on why people were picking Dallas. But Edmonton's depth has showed up in this series. Talked about McLeod and Janmark, and then Darnell Nurse ended up turning around his performance the other day in Game 4. Played very well after those 2 goals by the Stars. And Edmonton was kind of able to reverse the script from Game 3, where the Oilers came out hot in that first period. They went up 2-0, and then it was Dallas who stormed back in the second with 3 unanswered. The Oilers tied it later in that period, but then the Stars won it in the third period with 2 goals. Hat trick from Jason Robertson in that game. He's been good for the Dallas Stars in this playoffs, but he was kind of on, I guess, somewhat of a slump going into that game. Hadn't scored in, I think he had like 8 assists over a 9-game stretch going into that contest or something like that. Didn't have a goal, and then, of course, that's the way hockey works. When you're hot, and he ends up breaking his goalless streak with a hat trick. So, yeah, gonna see. Yeah, that's kind of what I've got so far for the Oilers series. Chris Tanev, he was seen in a walking boot in the Edmonton airport after Game 4. He's a key defensive player for this Dallas Stars team. And I think he's very important because earlier in the season, I was saying that Dallas was a cup favorite, but I thought that they needed to add a guy on defense to take them to that next level, which is what I think the Chris Tanev addition did for the Dallas Stars and kind of took them to that top tier of teams in the NHL. So I think he's very important to this team. And if you've seen Chris Tanev, you can just look up a picture of him, and you know that if anybody's willing to play through pain, it's this guy. I think he's missing all of his front teeth. I'd hate to be his dentist.
No, it's way easier. You got less to do.
He doesn't go to the dentist. There's no way that guy goes to the dentist.
Yeah, I don't know at this point either.
I think he's got one middle tooth, and that's it.
Yeah.
Hopefully he gets half off.
He looks like the witch from the Black Cauldron. You guys ever seen that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks like the witch from there.
Cool.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that in a minute.
Just the one tooth right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how the guy eats. What does he eat? Just smoothies. That's it.
Rocks, probably.
He must have like false teeth.
Rocks, pucks, and sticks.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get those beautiful pearly whites.
Pearly white.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tanev, absolute warrior. And it sounds like he's playing Game 5. Peter DeBoer, the coach of the Stars, said he's optimistic that Tanev will be playing Game 5. One more point that I guess a couple points that I wanted to talk about, but they're tied in to one another. Chris Knobloch, after Game 2, when Dallas won 3-1, was whining about the officiating, and he kind of had me in disbelief with what he said. Now, I've seen Oilers fans saying that people were taking what he said out of context and whatnot. It's all a conspiracy. No, he was, I'll say it straight up, he was whining about the officiating. And what he said kind of had me in disbelief because I don't know if you guys saw his comments. He said that the Oilers usually, it was something along the lines of Oilers win some games on the power play. So that's, the power plays are important to the Oilers. And so basically he was upset that the calls weren't going his way. I'm not going to get hostile over this, but I'll just say people have been saying this now for years at this point, last couple seasons, that the Oilers have, I guess, had a little too much. I shouldn't say too much. Like, it's great to have a good power play, but a little too much of their success has come on the power play. And people have been saying that it's not going to hold up come playoff time. And people have said that about Edmonton, that they need to be better at 5-on-5, and they have been, which is why I'm even more a bit shocked because I just don't think he should have made those comments is what I'm going to say. Like, Oilers have been better on 5-on-5. it would be wrong of me to say that they haven't improved on 5-on-5 like everyone's told them. But
Sorry, Clayton. Clayton, this is a huge moment for me. I fixed my camera. There's a little tiny like plastic nubbin that you slide over and it opens your camera out.
No shot.
Oh my god. Okay, I'm leaving the chat. I'm going to the computer. I hate having my phone up like this. You can continue, Clayton. Sorry, this is just a big moment for me.
yeah.
If he comes back and the camera's still not working, that'll be the funniest thing ever.
Big moment, even bigger defeat.
Yeah, I guess. Did you guys have anything about, you want to say about what I had said so far, Terrell? I seen you laughing. I didn't know if that was what I was saying or if it was at Taylor.
There was Taylor, and then there were some extracurriculars happening. We had another Wusak Go moment with Chris Knobloch.
Oh,
And I saw that in the show plan, and I was like, I might not be able to hold it together once that one comes around, and it was just too easy. I had to get it out.
oh okay.
It's up
I guess I'll just say this much. Yeah, he kind of had me in disbelief with what he said there. Let's go!
Go!
There's like the smallest little like
Oh,
He's gone.
there's like this little plastic piece, and I just like rubbed my thumb over my camera just one more time to see if it would fix it, and it did. So that's the victory of the week. I'm the baller of the week.
I was gonna say baller of the week, Taylor Boisvert.
Okay, you can continue. Sorry, that was just really ticking me off whole time.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess I've kind of made my point on that. I thought he was whining about it. And I think like you should know come playoff time that you're not going to get the calls. It's just the way it's always been. And I've been seeing people say that this is the worst year that this is the worst the officiating's ever been in the NHL. To which I say, 2011 and 2017 would like a word about that. Even going as far back as 1999, like the Dallas Stars that year won the Stanley Cup on a controversial goal in overtime where Brett Hull's foot was in the crease. What about 2004, where the Calgary Flames should have won the Stanley Cup? So the officiating has always been bad. It's never going to be fixed. And I honestly have the belief that we should just enjoy the officiating as it is, because apparently if it always is the worst it's ever been, then this will be the best it's ever going to be for the next infinite number of years.
I think people complain about it now just because there's more opportunities to, with instant replay and everything, and you get to watch the play in like slowed down to quarter speed, or it's zoomed in to like you can see a millimeter of someone's skate over the line on offsides, whatever. So it just gives people more opportunities to complain. But I think, yeah, if you went back and you had the same technology, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, whatever, people would understand that officiating probably is getting better, or at the very least isn't as bad as it's ever been.
Yeah. So, gonna continue on here. The Panthers, they beat the Rangers yesterday 3-2 to take a 3-2 series lead. The game-winning goal was an empty net goal by Florida to make it 3-1. Taylor just disappeared again, but I'll continue. Alexis Lafreniere then scored for the Rangers, I guess, to make it a one-goal game, but the Rangers couldn't get that tying goal. Time ran out, and the Panthers, they're now have a 3-2 series lead going into Game 6 back in Sunrise, Florida. And I'm going to be honest, the Panthers are just the better team in this series. They've outshot the Rangers in 4 of the 5 games in this series. The series should really be over. The Rangers have a couple of overtime victories that were carried on the back of Igor Shesterkin. Shesterkin's been nuts in this series. Sergei Bobrovsky's been great as well for Florida. But I think Shesterkin's just been next level in these playoffs. And when you think of it, like the Panthers have went through a murderer's row of goalies. The first round, they went up against Vasilevsky. The second round, Jeremy Swayman. Now Igor Shesterkin. And the Panthers are still finding ways to win. I think it's very impressive. Especially you can get down on yourselves and get discouraged in those tight checking games where where you're getting robbed by the opposing goalie. And Panthers are still finding ways to win. I think it's been very impressive what Florida's done in these playoffs. And I think Florida is a more physical team as well. Now, yes, the Rangers have Matt Rempe on their team, who I guess is like the new poster boy for being an enforcer in the NHL, but they don't use him. I think they played him a total of 3 minutes yesterday or something crazy. And I'm hearing from people saying, well, but you can't really play Rempe more or whatever because he's not that good of a player. Then don't play him. Use a guy who you're gonna play at least 6 minutes or something like that, like fourth line minutes, as opposed to just like almost giving the guy no ice time, because like then he's having no impact at all. So if you truly think that Rempe brings this physical presence to the lineup and you need him, then play him more than 3 minutes, because otherwise it only gives more work to your top guys to have to do, because now their top guys are now playing more as a result because of it, since Rempe, they don't want to have him out on the ice. Taylor, how's it going?
You know what, Clayton? I like the studio a lot better. That's all I'm going to say. It went from my camera to my Wi-Fi being just terrible. This is just, boys, it's just not been my day. It's just not been my day.
Yeah.
Bro's gonna be back on his phone in 10 minutes.
I was just trying. It's just it is what it is.
Taylor, what do you think of the Edmonton series so far?
That is the only other playoff series I've watched. I could really care less about the Panthers-Rangers series, although it's been close. I mean, I'm not going to say that I've been really checked into the playoffs for hockey this year, mostly because Canadians aren't in it, so I'm not really paying attention much. I needed to see Vancouver lose, so that was good. But since then, I have been watching the Edmonton series, or most of the Edmonton series, just because they're on at like a good time where there's nothing really else on if the basketball games are over or whatever. But it's been a good series. I know a lot of people don't like Edmonton, especially around here, especially people that we know that don't like Edmonton. But I wouldn't mind seeing a Canadian team win. And I think it's one of those things where it's like, for me at least, we all were saying like, oh, we'd like to see Luka Doncic win an NBA championship. I think it's kind of the same, if not even more urgent for McDavid to win a cup. It's like it got to that point where it's like, you like remember Ovechkin, where he had all those goals and he's a first ballot Hall of Famer guaranteed, but he hadn't won a cup yet. And then when he won a cup, it's like he's solidified as probably a top 5 player ever, if not top 3 potentially. I think if McDavid wins a cup this year, because who knows what happens after this year if they do lose. So that's why I'm kind of rooting for Edmonton a little bit, even though a lot of people around here are like, oh no, go Stars. It's just, I don't know. I that's how I think about it. Again, I'm not like totally super invested because it's not my team, but none of them are my team because I cheer for teams that lose a lot. So, yeah, but I've enjoyed the series. It's been a good series so far.
You took me to my next rant that I'd forgot about this week, but I guess I'll just do it here quickly. That Boston Pizza commercial about how we should team up to win the cup, the stupidest thing ever. It's so dumb. It's not the Olympics.
Clayton, it is sad, though, that it's been since 1993 that the Canadians have won a cup. Again, there's a whole conspiracy going out there that Bettman was one of the reasons why that's never happened again. But
see, I kind of want the Oilers a little bit, just because I think it could get rid of the whole Bettman conspiracy. But all it's going to do is create more. It'll be like, well, now a Canadian team's not winning the cup next year because Gary Bettman's not going to allow 2 Canadian teams to win the Stanley Cup.
I just think it needs to happen once, like just to get it over with, so we can have a new Canadian championship. Like as much as it's nice to be able to say to all my friends that I cheer for the team that had the most recent Canadian Cup. It's getting a little old. Like it was like 8 years before I was born. So I think it's time. I think someone like McDavid deserves one. He is the best player in the NHL, in my opinion. So I think if anybody was to win it out of the Canadian teams that were in the playoffs to start, it would have been Edmonton for me. Hate Vancouver, hate Toronto. Like, I don't know. I think if there was a team if there wasn't a Canadian team to win it, that I would be happy about it being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other point I was making just before you had hopped back on, I was talking about the Florida and the Rangers series. I just think Florida's the better team in that one. I think they're more built for the playoffs. Like they've got that nastiness to them with those shit disturbers on their team, Chuck Cousins, Sam Bennett as well. And that's not to say that the Rangers don't have those guys like they have. I was talking about Matt Rempe, but they play him 3 minutes a game. And all that does is give more work to your top guys to have to play. So if you are going to have Rempe in the lineup because he didn't play, I think it was game 1, and Rangers fans wanted him back in. If you are going to play him 6 minutes or whatever.
I think he should play more than that, in my opinion. But
give him fourth line minutes because, like, just playing him 3 minutes does nothing for anybody.
No.
Yeah.
It's not even worth paying for his plane ticket at that point, really.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. I think in the playoffs you need to have a grit guy, and he has. I think if he played the minutes, he has the offensive ability potentially, but you're never going to see that if he only plays 3 minutes a night. It's the same thing with like a couple other players in the league. Like I'll say right now, sorry, friend of the show, Dryden Hunt. Like he doesn't always get the opportunities that he probably should, because he doesn't play a lot. And I think if he was to play, a bit, then he would probably be a bit of a better role player for the team. Whereas right now it's kind of like he's just a waste of money on the bench kind of thing. But
yeah,
that's kind of my thoughts with that thing. I think in the playoffs you need to have an enforcer, and a lot of teams don't anymore. I think Boston, like Pat Maroon, stuff like that, where someone that can still actually contribute a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I find it kind of a waste. And I think he's one of the, if there was a goon in the NHL that could potentially become a good goal scorer, it could be Matt Rempe.
Yeah. I was going to say as well, speaking of like nastiness in the playoffs, I don't know how Jacob Trouba avoided suspension for his elbow to the head of Evan Rodriguez. Taylor, you and I were talking about it at work this week, but he sticks his elbow out like this. It's not like I've defended Trouba in the past on hits where I think he gets called out for, say, being a bigger guy and just makes contact with their head when he has his elbow tucked in and shoulder lowered, which I think is a clean hit. But then people get mad about it because then he tends to injure a number of guys. But him sticking out his elbow like this, like there's a difference between that and tucking your shoulder in. I don't know how he avoided suspension for that because that was blatant and it was dirty.
Yeah. It always comes back to the age-old thing of playoffs. We see it in football. We see it in hockey. They got to let them play. They're not going to be watching out for that kind of stuff as much. Oh, it's the playoffs. We're not going to suspend him because it's the third round. But I don't know. I think I'm with you, Clayton. I think it probably should have been a suspension. At least a game. Yeah. But they're always going to be more lenient. He's not one of those guys that's been like suspended loads of times in his career. I think if that was Tom Wilson, it'd be a different story. I think if it was somebody else like that, it would probably be different. It's just they're going to give a leash when it's games that matter a lot to a good player. Like if it's Matt Rempe, like who knows? He might have got a suspension. It's like it's not. They always look at it. They say they don't, but they always look at it objectively of like people are watching their star players. They're not going to give as many. I don't know. That's at least my thoughts. It's like if Crosby did that and he was in the Stanley Cup final, they're probably not going to suspend him.
Yeah.
But that could be a conspiracy, but at least how I think if I was an owner, even if I didn't say it out loud, if one of the players that brings the eyes to the sport does something, unless he like seriously injured somebody or bleed blood or anything like that, he's probably going to get the pass and probably able to play the next game. You'll come up with a reason why. It gets people watching, obviously. So, yeah, that's my opinion, at least.
Yeah. Another huge storyline in the Rangers-Panthers series has been the lack of production from the Rangers' top guys, namely Artemi Panarin and Mika Zibanejad, who have gone missing in the past in the playoffs. They seem to be doing it again. They have 0 goals in this series. Add in Chris Kreider, who I think only has the 1 goal, which was the one he had yesterday, which maybe I guess you can hope that he's, I guess, heating up a little bit, but you'd like that production in the first 4 games of this series. Like, basically what I'm saying is that the only reason this series isn't over yet is Igor Shesterkin. That's literally it. And Alexis Lafreniere has played well too. I guess I should throw him into there. But yeah, they need more out of Panarin and Zibanejad. And I honestly think that the narrative, if they lose to the Florida Panthers, if they're not able to turn this around, the narrative around those 2 players is going to be that they can't get it done. And I don't know if the Rangers will be making, like, I don't know if they'll ship them out. I don't know if they can, but I just don't. If they lose to Florida, they will get the narrative, and rightfully so, that they can't get it done, because they've proven that once they go deep into playoff series, they did it against the Lightning a couple years ago in the East Finals. They did it last year against the Devils. Now they're doing it this year. That the production just goes away. I guess that does it for playoff series, but there's a couple more pieces of news, including everybody's favorite team, the Vegas Golden Knights. Let's go. But it's not great news for the Golden Knights. At least I don't think it is. Golden Knights will not be re-signing Anthony Mantha, which that's not bad news. He didn't fit into the lineup ever since being traded there. I'll just say it right now. Washington won that trade. They got a 2nd-round pick for Mantha. Wasn't close. I thought it was an all right deal at the time. I thought Washington got a great return, and you can even go find that in the trade video that I did at the time. I was also high on Mantha, but I was still, I think, a bit high on him from when he was in Detroit. But I just don't think he fit in Vegas. I think there was just too many guys there, and I thought Mantha came in, and they played him mostly with William Karlsson, hoping, I think, that he would be like a Riley Smith type of player, and he just wasn't that. He just didn't fit in. I think he can go be successful somewhere else, but I think it's the right move by Vegas to let him go. Will Carey will be leaving, it seems like, and he's an original Golden Knight from year 1. Sad to see him go, but I'm not going to, I guess, lose sleep over it. He was a great 4th liner, but I don't know if he's the difference between this team winning the cup or not. You certainly like to have him on your team, though. Michael Amadio as well, and he's been a great depth player for the Golden Knights over these last couple of seasons. There's been like a couple of stretches where Amadio will get hot and have, say, 5 goals over his last 6 games or something. He'll have stretches during the regular season. He's a great depth player. I hope that the Golden Knights can find some kind of replacement for him, I guess. And then Alec Martinez, who is an absolute dog in the playoffs, always has been. He tends to, there's points in the regular season where you get a bit worried and you're like, oh, is age catching up to him? Then he's playing in the playoffs and he's playing on the top pairing with Pietrangelo, and he's absolutely killing it. Was a huge part of the Cup team last year, and while it may have seemed like an overpay to outside fans, the $5.5 million that the Golden Knights were paying him the last 3 years, I can't say that it wasn't worth it for what happened in the end and the performances he gave in the playoffs. But the biggest piece of contract news, this isn't a for sure like the other 4, but Jonathan Marchessault says that the Golden Knights have not reached out to him for a new contract extension. However, Marchessault's agent, Pat Brisson, said in March that there were plenty of talks with the VGK, but they do not expect a deal to get done until the end of the season. So my question is, who's lying? Is it the agent, Pat Brisson, or is it Marchessault who's maybe trying to get more leverage for a new contract? I'm going to say this. I don't think that the Golden Knights have been furiously trying to get this done, working night in and night out. It happened a couple years ago to David Perron, I think, and he had said this on Twitter, I believe, was that the Golden Knights never gave him an offer, and Perron was great for that first-year team. So I'm not going to say that the Golden Knights, I guess, haven't been trying their hardest to sign Marchessault, but I certainly think there's been some kind of talks happening. Otherwise, I don't think Brisson would have said that in March.
He's got Montreal Canadiens written all over him. I don't know why.
He could. Marchessault did.
Sorry?
Marchessault did say on Spit and Chicklets after they won the cup last year, because it was funny how they got to the conversation. Biz asked him, "So do you listen to the pod? What do you think?" And Marchessault said, "Oh, well, why do you cheer for the Leafs or whatever?" And then they asked him about the Leafs, and they're like, "Would you play for them?" And he said that he would play for any team in the NHL, and that you're lucky to have a stall in the NHL. So I could honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if Marchessault went to the Montreal. I will say this, that with this latest report coming out about Marchessault, originally I expected the Golden Knights to sign him. I think I'm starting to lean a little bit towards no in terms of what I think they'll do, but I absolutely want them to sign him. And I will say as well, Marchessault said that he had wanted to get an extension done last summer and was told by the Golden Knights, no, basically, we'll wait. We don't want to give you one right now. And I think that was absolutely a mistake looking back, because you probably could have signed him for 6 or 6.5 million. Now he's going to get somewhere 7 to maybe 8 million after this season he just had. So I think that's a bit of a mistake by Vegas, but still hope they're able to sign him. Then the last piece of news, the Seattle Kraken, they've hired former Pittsburgh Penguins head coach and Stanley Cup champion Dan Bylsma as their new head coach. And I think it's an interesting hire. I wasn't expecting it, but maybe we should have been, because he was coaching Coachella Valley Firebirds, which is the Kraken affiliate for the last couple of seasons that they've just been in the league. But Bylsma's last job was with the Buffalo Sabres in 2017, and the Sabres weren't very good that year, but I mean, the Sabres haven't been good for the last 13 years, so I don't want to fault Bylsma too much on that. I think it's going to be I think it's an interesting hire. I like him better than Dave Hackstall, just because I don't think Hackstall had really any success previously as a head coach. Then he had that 1 year with Seattle, but then they fell back down to earth this season. So, yeah, I think it's an interesting hire for sure. That's all I've got for the NHL. Unless you guys can think of anything else that you want to bring up.
Don't think so.
Nope.
Alrighty. I guess we'll do the list. The list this week, it is top 5 athletes that you hate the most. Now, I did have my list originally made, and then I don't know, it must have just... Oh, okay. We've got 2 different list sections in the show doc, so...
Okay.
I wrote mine down OG style. So,
Holy.
yeah,
Ooh.
back.
Can't trust the Wi-Fi.
Now,
We better get this done quick.
Okay, boomer.
Yeah. Ouch.
the one thing I wanted to say,
Number
the
one
asterisk.
player I hate is Clayton. So
Oh, damn.
Getting beef on the show.
What?
Damn.
Oh, I just... Okay.
The
I'm sorry.
the one
Taylor.
it's okay. Clayton. I forgive you.
the one asterisk in this section is that we're not including people who have done something illegal, so we won't have, O.J. Simpson not making this list. If you've done something off the field that we think is objectionable or the legal system thinks is objectionable, that does not count. But for me personally, part of this does include things that they have done post-career, not necessarily that are illegal, things that I just don't find. I don't know how to describe it. I don't enjoy what they did after their career. So,
Yeah, like off the ice or off the field drama, I guess, is included in this list, but like not like criminal activities.
yeah.
I know that
Clayton,
might be a little bit of like disparity between the two, but
yeah. Clayton, it was your idea. Do you want to kick this off?
I guess I will. This is the 5 that I thought of that I don't like. There's a lot of players I don't like. Shout out Gable Steveson, who I was just ranting about on this
Late
show.
edition.
Yeah.
But number 5, I've got James Harden. Now, I'm not an NBA fan, but like for me, he's the poster boy of flopping in the NBA and being just over dramatic. I just have never cared for him, but I think a lot of more hardcore NBA fans appreciate him. Just as a casual, I just don't care for him. Sorry. Um, Number 4, Fred Warner. Going back to this season against the Seattle Seahawks, his little fight or skirmish, you could say, with DK Metcalf.
Mhm.
And I guess he's the type of guy that you'd love to have him on your team because he plays rough. But when you're playing against him, when you're the Seattle Seahawks playing against the San Francisco 49ers, sorry, I hate that guy.
Didn't DK come over to him though?
DK suplexed him, and then Fred Warner hit him in the numbers, and yeah, hurt him
We
pretty
call
bad.
that a legal football move. That's old school ball right there.
Yeah, the suplex was cool. Okay.
It's got DK Metcalf's fault written all over it, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. I think you're going to be outvoted on this issue. So,
It's
think it'll
actually
be tied.
tied 2-2.
Yeah.
Will, you better be on our side. That's all I'm
No,
saying.
I'm on Taylor's side, and if we need somebody to break it up, I have Jana
San
right
Francisco
here.
49ers
I
fans.
have Jana.
You guys
Yeah, get
actually
your vote in, Jan.
Why are we bringing in outside votes? That seems unfair to the
Janice
Armchair Athletes as
We just
a
have to
platform.
we have to break the tie somehow. So
Will, you're cutting out. I can't hear you.
Oh, so what you guys think of my James Harden pick?
I think at one point the poster boy of flopping is valid, but I think that's kind of just the game now. And I'm not gonna lie, Luka Doncic might be up there with the poster boys of flopping right now.
That's exactly what I was going to
made
say.
2 comments that I disagree with.
No lies, though.
I will say the head snap is like the new thing.
Yeah.
Coming around a screen, it's just the head snap is just
The
everything does it now.
this and the
Yeah, it's just
and
the
then
full
you
on
just chuck the ball up.
It's just like really quick, like a little and then that's it. I think most people in the NBA do that. So Harden to be the worst, I don't know, but I'm not a huge fan of him. It's like he's kind of just a whatever for me, to be honest.
I understand.
He's really good, but
I understand the pick for sure.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
Number 3, and I know that he has been in some off-ice legal troubles, but I don't like him for the on-ice player that he is, just purely on that. In fact, I actually don't think he's that bad of a guy, maybe off the ice. I'm not sure. Don't attack me for this opinion.
Uh-oh.
Evander Kane, I hate him as an on-ice player. And I guess even off the ice, like his, I guess the drama part of it, where it was during the Vegas series last year where he was fighting Keegan Colasar and then after the game said, fuck around and find out. And I think that I just kind of I was confused as to why that taunt was being used towards us when, especially after this series, when the Golden Knights ended up winning that series, and then in the post-game locker room after winning the game, Nick Hague said, fuck around and find out, and the whole team laughed. Like, that should have just been the end of the whole fuck around and find out stuff. And then Evander Kane was playing in some adult men's league in Edmonton, and what was it he was doing? Oh, he had FAFO, which is fuck around and find out, on the back of his jersey. And I was just like, why are you still using that when the Golden Knights literally used it against you at the end of the series after they eliminated you from the playoffs? And also, yeah, I just don't like the on-ice player that he is. I think he's an enforcer type that can score, but I think he's a bit of a dirty player and does some stuff I don't like on the ice. So. Then we've got number 2, Jose Altuve, the cheater. Yeah, I know that they're still a good team and he's a good ball player, but I just don't like. I don't think I'll ever like the 2017 and how that happened and how it was handled.
Mhm.
Number 1, Matthew Tkachuk. I absolutely hate him. I hated him when he was on the Calgary Flames. I hate him now that he's on the Florida Panthers. He is a pest. and he's a turtle. He's a coward. He is, straight up. And I'm on Oilers. Oilers fans will agree with me on this because it was a couple years ago where he was trying to act like a big tough guy, throwing some hits against Zach Kassian. Then when it was time to answer, he didn't do it. Then later he did, but at first he didn't. He was turtling, and he's done it a couple of times. He did it against the Columbus Blue Jackets as well. It was earlier this season or last season. Yeah, I think he's a coward. Yeah.
Valid. Who wants to go next?
Oilers just scored.
Did they?
Yep.
Let's have a guess who scored. Clayton.
Evander Kane, just because I said it.
I think it was Zach Hyman.
I was going to say Hyman too.
It was Ryan Nugent-Hopkins.
Damn, same line.
Hyman was right there though. It almost looked like it was like off somebody's chest.
He's always right there.
Yeah.
I guess I can go next. I only have 5. I have no honorable mentions. I don't hate that many people. Like I think I'm just a casual sports guy. You know, it's just like whatever, stay in their own lane. I got a few though. Number 5 is Marchand Weasel. Just don't like him. Although he is like, I think when I think of players in any sport that you would want on your team, it's him. Like just like that category of player where you hate him, but if he played on your team, you wouldn't mind him. It's Marchand. Don't really need to say anything else. Number 4 is Marchand before Marchand. Sean Avery. That guy was a weasel too. When he stood in front of Brodeur for the screen, shaking his stick around. He was more just like a bullshitter. Like he just kind of messed around. Like it wasn't like he was as much of maybe like a fighter or whatever, but he's just more like an instigator. And he just kind of bent me the wrong way in my younger years watching hockey.
He's fucking annoying in his post career too.
Yeah, he is. That's true. Add that to the list. He thinks he's still sick and he thinks he's still good at hockey.
He tries to chirp the players today, and he'll just chirp the most random guys. I think he was chirping Clayton Keller. It's like, what did Clayton Keller do to you? Like, just shut up.
Yeah, no, I don't like him post either. But yeah, number 3, I think 2 other people will have this guy on their list. I'm guessing is Embiid. Number 3, hate him, pussy. Fuck that guy. Need I say more? Nope. Number 2, this comes with no explanation. We talk about this absolutely all the time. I'm just going to move on to number 1 after I say this. LeBron James. Number 1, I have any player that has ever played for the Vancouver Canucks in their career. 5 games, 15 years. Fuck you.
I swear we said that as a joke.
I said you're
I had it in number 3, and then I was like, no, I actually hate this franchise so much. It's going number 1. I hate them that much that there's players that have played for the Canucks and the Canadiens, and I can't do it, even if they played for the Canadiens. Trevor Linden, fuck that guy. Played for the Canes. He was good for the Canadiens. Fuck that guy. Anybody that played for the Canucks, anybody that's put on that shit stain of a sweater, you've lost all my respect as a human being.
You should, if you really committed to it, you should have just put 1 through 5 and not included anyone else. Just said the big.
I feel like yeah. I can't do it. I just fucking hate him so much. Most hated franchise. Talked about this multiple times. I can finally swear when I say it though, so that's why I'm just going for it. But yeah, any player that has ever played for the Canucks is a fucking bitch. Move on.
I want to go last, so Will, you can go next.
I don't have them numbered at all, but so I'll just throw out my names. I have Goran Dragic.
Recency bias.
Yeah, infamously traded to the Raptors and then was very vocal about not wanting to play for the Raptors, which you're a bozo. Moving
never
on.
good again though, so it doesn't really.
And I was going to say, and also it was bad. So
yeah, go back to EuroLeague, buddy. Number 2, or my second player, I have Zaza Pachulia. simply just from that one Kawhi play where
Yeah.
he like snaked his ankle. And then he never owned up to it after that when it was so clearly a like a intentional
Thing.
play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a counterpoint. I will say this.
Yeah.
If he doesn't injure Kawhi, I don't know if Kawhi ever ends up going to the Raptors.
No, I don't think so either.
So kind of moves him up.
Okay. Maybe I'll slide him to the 5 spot then.
Okay.
Number 3, Rudy Gobert.
I was waiting. I was thinking someone's got to have him, right?
I mean, I said I'm not going to overly hate on him, but I am still a hater because he is just a whiny player and a bitch. Yep. My 4th spot, I'm going to go with Bailey Zappi. He is not good at football. Anybody who says that Bailey Zappi is a good quarterback.
I have one. Oh my god, I'm such an idiot.
You have a few you could have put on there.
Yeah. I completely didn't even think football. I'm not gonna lie.
Bailey Zappi. Any Bailey Zappi truther is not a friend of mine.
Is there such thing?
There is.
Oh yeah.
There's so many.
Like,
take me back to mid-season last year.
We talked about this, didn't we?
Oh yeah, that was like a big storyline on the Patriots.
Because it was the same thing. Well, not quite the same extent, obviously, but it was the same thing with the Seahawks with the Drew Lock people.
Mm-hmm.
Except it's Bailey Zappi instead of Drew Lock, which is so much worse.
It gets even worse than that too, though. People were saying keep Zappi as the QB1 and draft Marvin Harrison Jr. Which, I mean, yeah, you're getting Marvin Harrison, but Bailey Zappi, QB1. I'm not going to say anything else. At my number 5, I'm not going to say Embiid because it's been played out a lot on this podcast how much we hate Joel Embiid. So I'm going to go with Patrick Beverley. I'm sick of his antics. I'm sick of his on-court stuff. I'm sick of his off-court stuff. I think he has really bad takes. As entertaining as he might be to listen to, I just don't agree with him on most things that he says. I'm not a fan.
Getting it out of your system before he joins our pod with Draymond Green.
For real. Well, I'll say it to his face then.
I'll do mine next. I also kind of don't really have an order for mine, so I'll just start listing people off. First, I have Draymond Green. Same reason as Pat Bev. On the court stuff, he's annoying. Off the court stuff, he's annoying. He should not be broadcasting. He's, like I said, he can talk, but man, I wish he didn't sometimes. Number 2, I got Garrett Cole. I can respect him as a player. I think he's a fantastic pitcher, but he whines. He's annoying. The whole Kermit thing is hilarious, and the fact that it really got to him against that one game in Boston was fantastic. And it's just really like there aren't a lot of players on the Yankees that I actually really do not like. It's mostly just the fan base. But Garrett Cole is one of those guys that I can see how great of a player he is, and I can admit it, but man, is he fucking annoying. Number 3, kind of a similar thing here. I got Rougned Odor. I'm so tired. Anything related to Jose Bautista, you will see the Rougned Odor punch gif, and it drives me fucking nuts because you lose in the playoffs later that season.
It's the same thing as the fuck around and find out where like they lost later.
Yes. So it's like it means nothing. Like, sure, you punched Bautista in the face, you lost. Punched in or had to get knocked out in May, punched in May, then knocked it in October. It's the thing. It's been like that forever. And it's like some like weird thing that Texas fans like keep holding. Like, you just won a World Series. Why are you still holding on to the Odor punching Bautista? Like, please move on.
Now, hey now, Terrell. Bat bat flips get fat lips. That's what they always say.
Yeah, if your comeback to one of the greatest moments in baseball history is a punch in a regular season, early in the regular season, that really just does not mean that much to me. At number 4, I did also have Joel Embiid, but again, we've talked about it so much. I figured I was going to change it up. So this is the true hater in me coming out. I got Tom Brady. Fuck you for running the league for so long. You drove me nuts. I hated seeing him every year in the playoffs, standing in the pocket like a fucking robot and not taking sacks ever and being perfectly accurate. It's kind of insane. Honestly, I think this is the LeBron thing for Taylor, but for me, it's Tom Brady. Yeah, I can acknowledge that he's the greatest quarterback ever.
That's exactly my argument.
But I wish he wasn't.
Yeah,
And it's not even that like he's a bad person or anything. It's just that he ran the league for so long. I just got tired of it by the end. And it just drove me nuts. So again, I respect him as a player, but yeah, I was tired of Tom Brady. And then you go to fucking Tampa Bay and win another Super Bowl. Like, just hang him up, man. You don't need to do that.
Well, at least we know that when I argue about LeBron, that's how you feel. And that's how I feel.
No, I understand your viewpoint.
Yeah.
It's just that I disagree so much. I can't relate to it whatsoever. But my last spot, this is going to surprise, I think, just about everyone here. Richard Sherman.
What?
Everything after his career.
That would be on my favorite playoffs. That'd be on my favorite players list.
Oh, absolutely. As a Seahawk, I love him. But then you go to San Francisco and post-career, you're just shit talk Seattle. And you act like you didn't play for them. You're on broadcast wearing 49ers hats. You're only talking good about the 49ers. You hate the Seahawks all the time. It's like, we get it, man. You didn't have a good relationship with Pete Carroll. Fucking no one did except for Russell Wilson. We understand that. And he doesn't even acknowledge it. And it just drives me so insane how much he hates the Seahawks. You won a Super Bowl with that team, and you were fantastic when you were there. Just, I wish he would appreciate those years more and not like just shit talk them so much. Because part of it for me is that I hate him so much because he was such a great player for the franchise, and to then go and later on in your career just completely do a 180 and hate on the team, it drives me nuts. So if it was like any other cornerback, really, like some other cornerback that did the same thing, it wouldn't mean as much for me. But it was the fact that he was such a great franchise player, then go to a rival team and only support that rival team after he left. Just, it really drives me nuts. So I respected him while he was there. He's a fantastic player, but everything since he's left, just not a fan. I'm going to continue and go straight into my honorable. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to do my honorable mentions.
Oh, okay. I was going to do mine, but I'll say mine for last again. Clayton, go ahead.
Yeah, my first honorable mention, Nick Cousins, also on the Florida Panthers. He's like Matthew Tkachuk. He's a coward. He's a pest. He doesn't fight when he does stupid stuff. But the only difference between Matthew Tkachuk and Nick Cousins, why I have Tkachuk at 1, because Matthew Tkachuk's actually a good player. Nick Cousins is bad. He's awful. To sum up Nick Cousins' career, he was told by Jonathan Marchessault in last year's finals against Vegas, "We still don't want you, because he was a former Knight." That's part of the reason why I hate him too, is because they got him at the trade deadline the one year, and he still hasn't done anything since then. So, other players that I hate, Embiid as well. Not a fan.
4 for 4 on Embiid hate. Let's go. Unanimous vote.
Marchand, but I think I've kind of just learned to respect Brad Marchand because he's so good at it.
So, I was going to say, some guys are so good, it's like being annoyed, it's like it's not even worth it anymore. Like, there's no reason to be mad at him.
Yeah. I used to hate Nathan McKinnon, but I'm just kind of like, he's a good player now. I still don't care for him, but I thought he was a dirty player there before and didn't get that reputation that he deserved.
I can do mine because I had to shake up in the list after the football thing. I'm knocking Canucks are still number 1. Number 2, I'll drop LeBron down to number 3. I'll give him a pass a little bit because it's the same argument. Like, he is the best player probably to ever play, but I fucking hate it. So that's end of the argument. Anyway, it's the same thing with Tom Brady. Fair enough. Tom Brady isn't as much for me because it was kind of funny to hear him get roasted in the roast. I thought it was kind of funny. Gave me a little like, okay, good. It's all on him. But the one I'm putting at number 2, fucking Kenny Pickett. Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy. That guy sucked. And it's not even because I hate him, because he's probably a lovely gentleman. He's probably a nice guy, but he fucking sucks at football. So I'm tossing him in there. You guys probably were going to think I was going to say Najee Harris.
No, I've
kind of switched on Najee. Not a lot, because I don't want to be that guy that's like really.
Your name tag.
Your name tag.
Yeah, that was what I said. He can't be on there.
It's just a joke. No, I still don't love him, but he did play really well at the second half of the season. So let's say I'm hopeful for Najee Harris. I hated him at the start because he just could not get past the line of scrimmage when he ran. And I don't know if it's because he hated the offensive coordinator and he just like, fuck this guy, or if what happened when we got the new one and he started actually playing good. But for the first half of the season last year, I hated that guy. And now I'm slowly starting to respect him. The Najee Harris for MVP is just a joke. It's not going to happen. But Kenny Pickett, however, I've never been so happy that we got rid of him. I don't want him anywhere near the Steelers' name ever again. Ever again. Fuck you.
Kind of for those similar reasons, I would say maybe DJ Dallas, but DJ Dallas seems like a cool dude, so I'm not going to hate on him.
Okay, go ahead, Taylor. I
was just going to say, like, if Kenny Pickett retires and then I become friends with him somehow, cool. But I'm still going to say he was a shitty football player. So
you're going to become friends with him, and then he's going to dig up this episode of the podcast, and that's going to be over.
Yeah,
that's okay. I didn't say I didn't think he was a nice guy. I just said he sucks at football. Like,
you're gonna become friends with him, and then one day you'll be like making your flag football league, and he's like, "Oh, can I play?"
He's playing wide receiver because I'm the quarterback.
Okay, right.
Well, he actually kind of looks like you, Kenny Pickett.
How dare you?
Not saying I don't like you. I'm just saying he kind of looks like you.
That's a crazy thing to say after going on a rant about how much you hate this guy, and then looking at Will and being like, you know what?
I don't hate him as a person. He's probably a lovely guy, but he just sucks at football, so that's why I hate him. I hate him as a football player.
You know, Will, you're also probably shit at football.
Oh,
maybe you are, but it's not. No, I don't actually know.
I dabbled in middle school.
I had to witness it with my own eyes for 8 weeks this year, and how shit he was. So fuck that guy.
My DJ Dallas thing is, I think he there was like a training camp video where there was like whoever runs social media for the team was talking about what game are you most excited for, and he said Seattle, as if it's going to be like a DJ Dallas revenge game. Like, man, you're not seeing the fucking field. Like, be honest with yourself. I just thought that was really funny, because if it was like some big name running back, like if Kenneth Walker went somewhere and was like, yeah, Seattle is my revenge game, I'd be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But it's fucking DJ. You're going to get like 2 kick return yards, and that's going to be your contribution to the game. I just thought that was hilarious.
I was going to say Seattle's going to be game planning for Marvin Harrison Jr., and instead it's just going to be a number of screens to DJ Dallas for 2 yards.
Negative 2 yards.
Yeah.
My honorable mentions. First one, Devontae Parker. Same reason as you guys. This guy fucking sucks at football.
That's why I don't like. They're not mean people. They're not mean people. I want to put that on.
He is kind of an asshole. I don't know. He had that massive drop against the Raiders this year when Mac Jones put a ball on a string to him along the sideline, dropped it right through his palms, and in the post-game interview, he said that the ball may have hit his fingertips, but he didn't think it was that good of a ball. And then spent the rest of the season complaining and still not playing good. Really grinds my gears. And then he signs with Philly just to retire right away.
That was, yeah. I was gonna say that was an incredible moment.
Mhm. And my other one, shout out to Jana for reminding me of this, but Gunther from WWE.
Yeah.
Gunther, fuck that guy.
Can we get a guest pick from Jana? Does she have anyone off the top of her head?
She wrote down one was really good. It wasn't a player, but she did make a list just now, and she said
Okay.
NBA commissioner, and the reason was rat.
Fair enough.
Pretty straightforward.
Fucking guy.
And Big Dom, the Eagles head of security.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's two pretty good picks, I can't lie.
She actually had a
Um,
banger list. I read through it all. It was goated.
I sent a picture to the group chat. Well, you can show that to Jana. That is very related to the commissioner rat thing. That's been saved in my phone for such a long time. I don't know, I don't know what, who made it or why it was made, but as soon as she said that, I immediately in my head I was like, that's in my camera roll somewhere.
Adam Squeaker. That's so good.
I think my favorite part is Kai Bree Irving.
Yeah. I didn't even see that. For anybody listening, it's like a very morphed picture of Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, and it says, "Get ready to eat cheese, buddy."
It's such a stupid picture, but I was like, the fact that just NBA commissioner rat is just everything clicked in my head right at that moment, and I immediately had to find that picture.
It's so good.
Okay, my honorable
Another one.
mentions. Oh, you got one?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you go ahead
say
first. I'll do mine on the list.
For the same reason you hate Tom Brady and why Taylor hates LeBron James, I fucking hate Patrick Mahomes. I'm so sick of him. I'm sick of him being good at football. I'm sick of him winning Super Bowls. I'm sick of his brother. I'm sick of his wife. I am sick of
You
I'm
can't
sick of
include
the
his
fact
brother
that
because we weren't doing criminal stuff.
oh whatever, I still hate
It's
him.
a mention. It's fine.
Yeah.
No, that's not why. I hated him when he was doing that TikTok BS too. That was before he was a criminal. I hate the fact that Mahomes speaks like Kermit. I hate the fact that he is corny. I fucking hate him. Somebody else win the Super Bowl this year, unless it's the 49ers. I hate them too.
I was going to say it can be anyone, but it can't be the 49ers because if Brock Purdy wins the Super Bowl, I'm not going outside ever again.
I'm surprised that wasn't in your hater list.
That's what I was thinking.
Like
I
he
thought
just
he was
he
going to
has
be on yours too.
dig that guy a hole is just
he hasn't like there's a lot of guys on my list where it's like he just hasn't done enough. Like he's fine. Really the main reason I dislike him is because like he gets overhyped by fans a lot. It's nothing that he's done. Like he's a fine quarterback and he's okay. There's nothing wrong with him. It's just that like when he was in MVP talks, that drove me nuts. So it really wasn't anything about him. It was just he got talked about too much. But going into my list of honorable mentions, I have a few. First of all, I had to exclude him because of the criminal stuff. But when Trevor Bauer on the field, you can exclude everything he's done allegedly. He's fucking annoying. He's just straight up not good anymore. He's bad. And he goes on Twitter and he whines that people are blackballing him. No, you suck at baseball and no one wants to sign you because you have all this baggage. It's not like every MLB team, and lots of teams have pitchers or have a need for pitchers. Blue Jays just lost their rotation guy again in Manoah. It's not like they couldn't use a fifth guy. It's just that you suck and no one wants you on their team because you're so annoying. So Trevor Bauer easily would have been like number one on my list probably, but I just wanted to exclude him because all the criminal stuff. But yeah, on the field, he sucks just as much. Unfortunately, I do have to say, Malcolm Butler, you know what you did. There's nothing else I can say other than that. I said I hated Tom Brady. Same reason for Malcolm Butler. And then this one, this is kind of a different pick from me, and this is like if you're throwing it back for a few years. When I was first starting to watch basketball, it was like 2015 ish, and every year the Toronto Raptors would run into LeBron James in the playoffs, and I would have to watch the Raptors get sent home, and I couldn't stand it happen. And now as he's left and I no longer have to deal with him in the Eastern Conference, I can appreciate him as a basketball player a lot more. But it was like every year, I mean, first like the Wizards, they got eliminated by them too, but it was like LeBronto, that whole thing, it drove me insane. Kind of the same thing with Odor is like that still gets brought up, LeBronto. Like you can't ever escape that. Unfortunately, sticking with him forever. However, I've since grown to appreciate Pookie Bear. He's my glorious king. Shout out to him in the West. It's just when he was out there in the East terrorizing everyone, it drove me nuts. And kind of honestly, again, same reason as Tom Brady. When he was the Warriors and the Cavs were, back-to-back finals and just repeatedly going, and he had to watch them every year. I was like, all right, we've had enough.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's
Well, I
my
say
final
we
honorable
just
mention.
clip that whole conversation right there and say that you don't even deserve to be a Glazer because you weren't before.
I don't think I'm a Glazer. I feel like I'm a very level-headed LeBron fan.
Okay. And I'm 6'12", so just news for you.
You can call me whatever you want. But I will say I think my love for LeBron comes from him as a basketball player and less from like the everything else he does.
That's fair.
I'm not quite at running like the LeBron fan account level. I don't know. He's a great basketball player, and I think a lot of it for me is just that he's such a silly character. All the old IG stuff is hilarious, and he's still just a little bit weird today. It just makes him really enjoyable. But yeah, when he was on the Cavs and was just terrorizing everyone in the Eastern Conference, it drove me nuts. And it was part of the reason why I really didn't get into basketball for a long time, is just because I was like, well, inevitably, no matter how good the Raptors are, they're going to come into LeBron in the playoffs and they're going to lose. Like, that's just how it works. So it's like, what's even the point in watching? Yeah, and then as soon as he left, went to the Western Conference, Kawhi came in, they won a championship, and then I was locked in on the Raptors. So, yeah, that's my rationale there.
Yeah. At least those Raptors days they were making the playoffs. It wasn't like Jamario Moon and Landry Fields days. Those were the dark days.
Yeah.
Winning like 28 games in a year. This year reminded me of that.
Yeah, it was bad.
Those were the bad days, man.
I don't know.
Fuck that guy.
Do you guys have anything else?
I got nothing.
No. I think we've done enough.
I don't have nothing, so we should probably end this before I think of another player to hate on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty. That does it for another episode of the Armchair Athletes. Tune back in next week. I'm not sure what the list will be next week, but I don't think we'll be as passionate for hating on people as we were this week. Yeah.
We're always haters.
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, tune back in next week. Thank you very much.
See you, folks.
Thanks, everybody.